People, deluded. I hope you're all well and safe, and I'd like to say good morning to you. All good morning. I say good morning, better yet, good evening, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whoever you are, people. So yeah, I hope you're all doing well and safe. Hope you've got your health. Hope you're all aspiring to be better than you was than yesterday. Pardon me, in your own way. Apologies for burping. Been eating dumplings and I want to go back to eating my festivals and dumplings, but it's time to make vids. I don't typically make vids on a Saturday, but I thought I would. Now, first and foremost, now I've spoken about it, you have spoken about it, you have seen what's going on globally. I don't want to turn this into a whole, what's going on in relation to America, and I believe that opens up the door not just to racism worldwide, but for England to look at themselves and be accountable. I think problems in Britain, I do think in general, in a day and age where everything outrages someone, I do think the lines get blurred between what is racism and what isn't away from this. But back to this, I do think racism is ingrained in British society. It's blatant ones, go back home, go back to your country and all of this sort of stuff with the rise of the far right. And it's also about how you target them systematically, how you target them in the educational system, dog whistling, how you coded language. There's very different ways of going about racism and systemic oppression, people. And I do think Britain historically has done a very great job of being able to deny their role or involvement in slavery or any prejudices. And I do think one problem all of us have in British society is that, not that we think we're better than everyone, we're very quickly to condemn racism when it happens over there, but when it's here, people are more concerned with being offended by being called racist or being pulled up on their unconscious or conscious prejudices and bias than actually addressing such people. And I say this, look at the best example. I can't remember the team, but remember when it was England and the England players were racially abused abroad? Obviously that's wrong. Society condemned them. But when it's problems within England, we're not going with the same energy. Now when I'm seeing the FA, the head governing body essentially of football in this land, coming out and bringing out that same statement that brands have been doing with Black Lives Matter, of course I'm happy as a black man, and I'm sure black women and black men and old, young and older that feel the same. You want to see people talking about it. I do think brands can't win in the sense of people always demand more. If they talk, they're told to shut up. But it is a bit of a kick in the teeth, and I can't speak for anyone, but I'm very wary of these companies or these organisations that are saying Black Lives Matter and all of this stuff, not because the statement is wrong, their intentions, their integrity. Yes, they're saying that. What have they done to address problems within their own system or company? Do you get it? Are they just saying this for the sake of saying it? Are they, like I feel with social media, not just brands but individuals, people don't actually want to say the right thing, they just want to be seen saying the right thing for obvious reasons. And you can imagine brands they're scared they're gonna be called out. But I'm sorry, but I think it's a bit cheeky from the FA. I think it's very cheeky from the FA to come out and say you stand with black players and that. No, you fucking don't. No, you don't. No disrespect to the FA. No disrespect to the employees employed by the FA. But no, you don't. You really don't. You tell us time and time again with the way Raheem Sterling has been dealt with. Whenever I know it's tying into the Premier League, but whenever racism rears its head, the perpetrators are never dealt with correctly. You look at Jonathan Lico, that's something for the EFL, the FA and everybody to learn with. Look how long it took to convict. The man still hasn't been issued a public apology from Leeds, forgive me if I'm wrong, and the perpetrator at hand, we won't name him because he doesn't even deserve that. In fact, he does deserve to be named and shamed. That keeper, Kiko Castillo, whatever his backside name is. I think it's a kick in the teeth. And it's one thing talking about Championship and Premier League and the elite sort of football, the top end of the pyramid at football. Do you know how many racial incidences go unnoticed at club level? What support was there for Haringey Borough? What support is there for these referees that are getting abused and everything else, people? Did you know how it's a kick in the teeth? People, there's hardly any real justice in terms of fines. There's hardly any real justice in proper punishments. So when I'm seeing you come out there, and even Raheem Sterling, we can go with that. Individuals within the FA did nothing to protect Raheem Sterling until it became cool. Coaches did nothing to protect Raheem Sterling. And these things keep happening. It doesn't matter if it's happening at youth level with England, doesn't matter if it's happening grassroots, doesn't matter if it's happening in the top. And I see that as a kick in the teeth, because there's problems within the FA. There's structural issues that we could sit here and talk about within the FA. And what have they done to address them? What have they done to address their own policies? What have they done? You do not stand with black players. I'm not saying you're racist, I'm not saying you don't sympathise with black players, but you do not stand with black players. You do not try to place yourselves within their feet, within their shoes, and imagine what it's like to walk among mile in their shoes and how they're perceived in society. You do nothing to protect these players, nothing. And that's a problem with English society as well, because when the racism happens, especially with these English players, when it happens, when other countries, you know, we go over there, we play, or they come here and they abuse, we're quick to condemn it, we're quick to stand up, we're quick to unite, we're quick to do all of this. But when it's here, it's denying, it's to and from, it's nobody's making any real progress, it's nothing, and there's problems. And you know, the sad reality is black players only have themselves. Yes, there's people that aren't necessarily black that stand up for them, that stand up for what's right and wrong. But it's the people who don't stand for that, and more importantly, it's the people who sit on the fence and are silent. Being silent is picking a side, and sadly, that's picking the other side. So this ain't me bashing the FA or something. This is just me calling it as it is. Because if I was Raheem Sterling, generally I'd be obviously he would never come out and say it because he probably wouldn't have an England career again. But looking, I'll be like, you're too fucking cheeky, blood. Like you lot have left me out to dry, left me getting hung out to dry by GMTV, all of these things. Members of the coaching staff did not stand up for me until it became cool. I keep saying this again, and not to blame Gary Neville. Gary Neville was there in the England camp and wasn't doing anything to help it. Gary Neville then became praised for saying racism is bad. I don't understand. I'm not getting at him. I'm just painting a picture. Why praise people for saying the bare minimum or doing the bare minimum? It's like praising police officers for saying they're not going to kill you and stuff. You shouldn't be doing that anyways. Like, why am I praising you for basics? I just think it's bloody cheeky from the FA, like a lot of companies, people. Like I said, a lot of it is genuine. A lot of companies are genuine. But I don't believe the FA's one is particularly genuine. I just think it's saying things for the sake of saying things. But that's just my opinion. If they really cared, they would at least... Again, I don't think everything can be changed by one organisation alone. But they could send out strong intent. And for me, I keep focusing on Premier League examples of household names like Raheem Sterling. It's the grassroots that needs the help the most, because these stories don't get picked up more time by major newspapers. There's no traction. There's nowhere to help them. What are they doing? They're being more or less told they're playing the race card, and they're essentially being the boy who cried wolf. There's no real help for them, and I think that's disgraceful. So the FA should look internally, look at what their issues are structurally, look if they could improve diversity within their board, look at their practices, look if there's not any conscious bias. Even the referee, what's that referee? A couple of years ago it came out because in a meeting he got caught talking a madness as well. Now go and pull them in check. What workshops are the FA doing to ensure that, you know, they're not employing people with outdated views, or they're because let's be honest, there is just a certain sort of individual that works at the FA. Yes, there's diversity, but there's a certain sort of middle-aged male individual. What are you doing to try and learn about your conscious or unconscious bias? Because we all have racial conscious and unconscious bias, shaped by society, shaped by family, shaped by our own experiences, rightly or wrongly. What are you doing to address that? What are you doing with speaking with people within the community to see how you can come across better, how dialogue can be improved, so how you can show you make more of an effort? We know tackling racism doesn't make any money, so it doesn't mean anything, and you know, it would just be seen as black people just moaning about something else, so it's never going to change really and truly. But I've got nothing more to say. I just felt this needed to be said. On that note, I'm off to make more positive videos in relation unrelated to this, better yet. But for now, people, Deluded. And before I go, make sure if you haven't already, you've voted for me to win the Football Content Awards. The links are in the description, links are in the comments. It takes 30 seconds of your time. It would really be appreciative. But away from that, people, God bless, DG.